Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
Want to know the best kept secret to ecstatically happy clients? Keep listening, because a lot of coaches, consultants, and small business owners continuously get this wrong. And that's the reason why their businesses can't be profitable and enjoyable. Now, let me tell you something. As a business owner, you are, controlling your own means of existence. And as an entrepreneur, marketing is just maybe one aspect of running a successful business. You're hiring and managing new staff, you're balancing the books, you're driving growth, and a whole lot more. And it all seems like it's a constant balancing act where you're pulled in multiple different directions all at once. And at the end of the day, your real goal is just to help your clients. Am I right? You just want to spend as much time as possible changing people's lives and solving people's problems. And you don't want to waste countless hours each week trying to navigate maybe the complex world of online marketing and trying to get new clients and all that bang. And you certainly don't want to spend yet another minute maybe on the phone having to beg people to hire your services. Fortunately, you don't have to. All you got to do is set a reasonable time frame to complete your work. That's it. I could end this podcast right now. This is the best kept secret to ecstatically happy clients. Let me tell you something. Most coaches and consultants suck at meeting deadlines. I've heard horror stories from disgruntled complaining, clients that we take on, and they're complaining about maybe other agencies they've worked with, or people they've worked with in the past. And I've dealt with it in my own fair share of flaky coaches and consultants out there. There's blown deadlines, forgotten deadlines, missed deadlines, stretched deadlines, and the mysterious so-called flexible deadlines, which we did not agree upon. No coaches or consultant or small business owners aren't really known for being reliable people a lot of people are finding it hard for them to depend on them to deliver. And that's too bad, because they're tainting and putting a bad name in a really good industry. That's just because there's one easy way for you to create ecstatic clients who will keep coming back for more that a lot of people don't seem to be able to grasp. I'm going to repeat this. Set a reasonable time frame to complete your work. And once you have said when you're going to finish the job, make sure you do it on or before. Not after, not 1 hour later or anything else. Because if you haven't set the client expectations, they haven't bought into your service provision fully, and they're just waiting for you to deliver so that they realize that they haven't lost their money. So when you set a reasonable time frame to complete your work, you create ecstatic clients that are happy and they will pay, stay, and refer. And the operative word to all of this is reasonable. Okay, don't say you're gonna work around you're gonna bring around results in a day, especially when it actually takes you 3 to 4 days or maybe more, because you have to be away from your computer maybe Fridays to pick up your kids, and then you just don't show up for the client, and and then if it becomes the weekend, you don't want to be bothered. That client paid you money and they're expecting results at the time that you told them. So you need to set their expectations so that they can also report back to their work or office or whoever is their handler. Okay, so we've got this thing going on in search engine optimization, where it actually takes an average 3 months for you to actually at least start ranking, not ranking number 1 or 2, ranking on Google. All right. And a lot of people tell their clients, or a lot of digital marketers tell their clients, oh, you get results in a week or so. It don't work like that, because when you start optimizing a website, okay, Google needs to understand who you are, what you do, and where you do it from. And there's a lot of back and forth up until that website is actually properly indexed and all the credibility and content has been actually indexed by Google, and Google is happy to provide a ranking for that website based on what other people are performing, in the SERP there. And some digital marketers or consultants would go on and tell people, oh, in a week you'll be ranking already on number 1. What a crock of, you finished that by yourself. It is a blunted lie, and they know it. So don't say you can get the work done or you can get people results in a short amount of time just so you can get the sale across. Clients won't mind that much if you write, in the last hour and tell them, I'll deliver your work on Monday instead. Or if you think that your clients won't mind, that you would just maybe stretch that deadline based on what you think is convenient, or maybe it's a holiday or something like that, and then you just think, oh, you know what, they would understand. No, they won't. It's their money and nothing to show for it, and they would rather have the money in their pocket than have it in somebody else's account and they have nothing to show for it. So never assume that clients won't mind that much if you just write in the last hour and tell them you deliver on Friday or on Monday instead. It's only an extra day or 2, right? They wouldn't mind. Wrong. If you agree on a deadline, you have to hit it. No excuses, because excuses only sound best to the man or woman that's saying them. To anybody else, you're just wasting our time, or you're just buying time, which we can't afford. Time is money. Because when somebody engages you to do a certain service for them, if they're running a business, their team is probably anticipating that those results work. Their family is expecting those results to work. So they have a lot leaning on them that maybe you might have. And you might not realize, just because you didn't take that much time to understand the client's problem. All you just wanted to do was sign on that dotted line and get the sale across in whatever way, shape, or form. A client may listen to you and nod when you tell them that maybe your kid was sick or you had to run her to the doctor, and then maybe the tire on your Tesla or on your Subaru went flat when you were in the middle of the back roads and you had to walk back 20 miles back to civilization. They might commiserate with you, but listen, you took their money and they have nothing to show for it. All right? Even if you did it while your kid was crying without water and you had to walk 20 miles uphill, they would just in your face say, oh, that's hard. But when are we going to get the results? Your client might be sympathetic for sure. For real. I mean, they're human. You'd have touched on their human side, but inside their head, he's running down a list of everyone else he knows who might be able to get the job done on time. He's also looking at how many other people would have been able to accomplish this task for him without him having to go through this self-pity that you're trying to give your customers. If you agree to a deadline, you have to hit it. Nothing more, nothing less. All right? That's why you need to remember this important truth of life. Shit happens. All right? There's no nicer way to put it. There's no way that I could sugarcoat this. All right? You'll be working on your client's project and it's probably coming along nicely, and then bam! Something unexpected falls on your lap that you have to take care of immediately. Like this weekend, my little girl was running in the house, and then all of a sudden she sprained her ankle, and this is the first time that has ever happened to her. So now I have to carry her around, to take her to the toilet and everything else. And she's only 3, so she's missed out on her kindergarten today, and she's missed out on playing with her cousins. So she doesn't understand that she can't do all of those things because of her leg. So I have to constantly be checking up on her. Now, if somebody wants to meet with me, or for me to do a screen share with them, I should definitely show up for that meeting no matter what. You know what I mean? Because those people or those clients are paying me. Yes, they might feel sorry about my little girl, but that ain't water on their backs if they were ducks. You know what I mean? So shit happens. Yes, my little girl has to go through what she goes through, but that's not my client's problem. Of course, it's not my fault that that happened. Shit just does happen. So whatever deadlines that you might have, that deadline you have every intention of hitting, or maybe something happens and then you literally physically can't operate and it goes down the window. Of course, it's not your fault. Like I keep saying, shit happens, but blow a deadline by even hours, and that client will remember it forever. You know why? Because they already have things lined up. So maybe you are supposed to deliver a like a logo that they need to use in order to put on their new trucks that have to transport products for other clients to another state, and they're waiting on that logo because they don't want that truck to travel all the way and without the logo. So they can't delay their clients, they can't delay their driver, they can't delay the delivery of that product just because you can't deliver the logo in time for it to get printed in order for them to stick it on their truck. Can you see how many things depend on you delivering on their product? Maybe you are a coach and you are helping people lose weight, and somebody already bought their wedding dress and you can't deliver on them losing weight in time for them to go to their wedding. Now they don't have a dress to wear, or they're going to have an inconvenience of having to buy another dress. Do you think they're going to forget that? Not a chance, bruh. Not a chance, sis. Right? Even worse, I mean, there could be a lot of things. So just whenever you are taking on jobs, I just put out an episode number 10, reasons to say no to clients. If you haven't listened to that podcast, I suggest you stop right now and go listen to that podcast, because I outline when to say no to clients when you can't meet deadlines. And one of the reasons why a lot of people can't continue in business is because they have so many bad reviews, they can't come back from that. It might not be your fault, of course, but shit happens. Do you know what I mean? Your clients will remember when you when you miss on a deadline more than when you actually hit it out the park. Even worse, you may make all your apologies to your client knowing that, while he listens and nods and he's sympathizing with your situation, he's mentally running down a list of people who he will hire instead of you next time around. So when you start complaining, I can't get more work, I can't get repeat business, I can't get referrals, maybe it's because you're not hitting deadlines and you're not actually satisfying your clients. Your reputation and your expertise is it's worth more than gold. All right. So when you meet your deadlines, this is one of the most important obligations that you have as a coach and a consultant. But of course, like I keep saying, shit happens. So how do you circumvent this problem? Because it's going to happen, and it's always going to happen. One thing that I can suggest, even if you're a one-man band, try to have a group of freelancers that you can, palm off work to. Because once you have people that can do most of the menial tasks, and then you just maybe work on the strategy and actually the generating of leads and clients, then it no longer becomes your role to deliver the product for the customer. You just make sure that everything is done on time, and it never just has to rely on you showing up every single day. So you want to start outsourcing. Even if you think you can't afford it, you can't afford to have a bad reputation, my friend. Another thing you need to do is pad your time. That doesn't mean lying about how much time it would actually take for you to maybe do the work, or falsifying the hours that are needed for you to commit or, conduct a service. It just actually means maybe you overestimate how much time that you think it would take for you to finish that product, so that it leaves you time and a bit of wiggle room just in case something unexpected happens. All right. So if a project maybe takes 3 days, tell your client that in a week they would have results. So they are not looking at you on Wednesday with large, scary eyes, thinking you already run away with their money. But their expectations are met when you deliver a little bit earlier on. So if that project will take you maybe a week, tell the client that it will take a week and a half, just to give yourself padding room, just in case you need to correct something or things of that nature. Just give yourself extra time, just in case the unexpected happens. And you will save your reputation, and still, you'll come out looking good, like a responsible, reliable freelancer. And even if you then produce the work ahead of time, they actually think, oh my God, you actually deserve to be paid a lot more. That's what clients like to see. And if you don't need that extra time, fantastic. No one is going to fire you for handling your work in early. So just go ahead and deliver that work sooner than expected. Your client will be ecstatically happy, which is what you want eventually, isn't it? And sometimes maybe, it might be holidays. You can also avoid missing deadlines over holidays, because there's things like maybe a client wants you to deliver certain services or a project, and a holiday comes in between, and then there's like a long weekend that is inevitable that you have to deliver the project on there. Even if the client is on holiday or they're experiencing whatever that holiday is, they still are expecting that stuff is happening behind the scenes. That's the reason why they're outsourcing that project to somebody like yourself. You should actually treat missing deadlines like your worst nightmare, because missing deadlines ensure that your workflow, when you meet those deadlines, it ensures that your workflow keeps moving smoothly, and it also keeps the client happy. Because when you now start doing work in a panic, that's when mistakes happen. And when people start seeing mistakes in your work, do you think they're going to hire you tomorrow? However, every once in a while, even the most efficient coach or consultant can maybe miss a deadline. And this tends to happen often, maybe around holiday seasons, or when there's long weekends or unexpected things that might happen in their life. And usually during this busiest time of the year, meeting deadlines actually matters even more, especially if the client is trying to get ahead or tie up loose ends before everyone else takes time off of the holiday. And if you're already starting to get overwhelmed with tasks, there could be some ways that you could actually start avoiding, missing these deadlines over the holidays. One other thing, like I said, maybe outsource the work so that you don't have to rely on yourself to provide the work. One thing you could do is maybe work ahead. Okay, this is one of the best ways that you could do to avoid missing deadlines all year round. If you're a coach or consultant, you have lots of flexibility in terms of your own schedule, because you are your own boss. But life is also unexpected, all right? You can work overnight, you can work during weekends, but stuff might happen that might take you away from your desk for a very long time. And if something pops up that prevents you from being able to work or get that work done, you might miss a deadline. And if you've worked ahead, then you've already covered the work that needs to be done. So in other words, you can't afford to fall behind slightly, since you give yourself maybe a nice little buffer, or maybe you give yourself a little pad, like I mentioned earlier on. If you're going to be working, if the time required for you to provide a result is maybe 3 days, just tell your client that you need a week for you to be able to accomplish whatever it is that is going on there. All right. So it may be challenging to get ahead of your workload, but you can actually take it one step at a time and start working ahead with one client and then move to the next. And it may, even you may even want to tell your clients that you're working ahead so that they give you the assignments that you need, or the logins that you might need, or any additional details that you might need in advance, so that you don't come across any roadblocks. All right. So if you really know what provision or service you're going to be doing, and if you really know the outcome that you're going to be giving your customers, you can actually have set systems that will help you actually provide that service with no problem and less overwhelm. And you can actually outsource that to other people so that you do not get found wanting. All right. Like we keep repeating, shit happens. And if something happens and you can't provide a service, that is the last dealing that your customer might have with you, and that's not the best thing. You might have been getting them results all the time before, and then just that one time you make that little mistake, and it's not gonna, it's not gonna be the best reputation that is left, in their mind. All right. One other thing that you want to be doing with your customers is communicating to really tell them what exactly is happening, and if you're going to be facing any roadblocks. It's important to let your clients know if you're going to be out of the office or simply away from your computer during holiday season. I always laugh with my little girl. We were watching this show, Big Bang Theory, and Sheldon, when he's going away from keyboard, he says to his people, "Excuse me, Sheldon is AFK, away from keyboard," So if you're going to be planning to travel or be AFK, away from keyboard, you'd want to give your clients notice so that they can also plan accordingly. Like the example that I gave you of, let's say you are designing a logo for a truck that needs to go interstate. Any delay that you're going to make means you're going to derail your clients' delivery. You're going to derail your clients' expectations and everything else, that goes along with it. For one of my clients, we all post in a Slack thread. We use Slack to keep each other informed of when we are working and things of that nature. Okay. And we use it to let each other know when we're going to be out of town. And if there's any dependencies that need to be done, they can be asked for well in advance. And when one person misses a deadline, it actually shows, who is responsible for having delivered what, and it slows the process down. So you don't want to be the person that's found wanting or the one who's missing all of those deadlines. So you need to communicate with your client or maybe with your team well ahead and in advance, because deadlines can be rearranged and you can actually start planning accordingly before people start blaming you. All right. One other thing that a lot of people do to miss deadlines is because they book themselves. You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands full. All right. So it's very important for you to be honest about, how much work you can take over. Maybe it's during holidays or just throughout the whole year. Can you take on 3 extra clients every single week? Can you take on 50 new accounts without expanding your resources or whatever it is that you have already? Because you likely miss deadlines or be a nervous wreck by the time you finish any of the projects that you've taken on. And nobody wants to be treated like a hashtag or an afterthought. No client is paying you money to show up tired or disheveled or to give them things that don't actually work well for them. Nobody ain't got time for that. So you need to make sure that you really have given yourself a buffer to finish all the projects. And if you see a problem coming with the work that you've got so far, just slow down and bring it to the client's attention and let them understand that if they do have resources or people on their side that can help you get things done cheaper, better, faster, why not bring them along? You know what I mean? Because timing is everything. And if you can communicate any questions or concerns in advance, you can actually avoid missing any deadlines, especially when it's during holidays or when clients need you the most. Right. So also one other thing is you need to just be organized. Set calendar reminders, or maybe, just really organize yourself. Because if you're filling up your work schedule and you haven't looked at the calendar to see maybe there's holidays coming up or there's something that might derail you, be sure to keep yourself organized and add all your deadlines to some sort of a calendar. Because if you're using a digital system, you can possibly set event reminders, or if you've got a project management system, it will tell you of things that are being left or that have come undone that you need to start working on. All right. So set reminders so that you make sure that you're doing everything that needs to be done on time without missing out on any deadlines. You know what? You're only human. And it's not uncommon for you to forget things from time to time. And it's understandable. But if people have paid you money, they expect a little bit better. If you say you're a professional, you just want to show up and do the best that you can without, showing up any red flags and people start doubting your competencies, all right? You can actually avoid missing important, deadlines as a cultural consultant by adding everything to your calendar so that you know how to plan your to-do list and not just overwhelm yourself, just so that you are getting on jobs that are not going to work for you, that you're not going to be able to provide. At the end of the day, let me tell you something. If your clients are not happy, they will shout out at the top of their lungs for people not to work with you. All right. So you want to set a reasonable time frame to complete your work. And like I keep repeating, the operative word here is reasonable. All right. Don't say you can turn, work around in a day, especially when you know it may actually take you maybe 2 to 3 days or 4 or 5 or whatever it is, because you have to be present. If you're going to be away from your computer, or like Sheldon says, AFK, you need to let the stakeholders aware, because maybe your delivery of that service also leans on them continuing with their work for their clients, or something else that needs to happen within their business. Right. So in a nutshell, missing deadlines, often leads to client dissatisfaction. And that's the least thing that you want, especially if you're working hard to get these clients through the door. All right. And it can also open, the door for late and unreliable payments. Because if you show up late at work, then they're also going to show up late with their invoice. That's just reciprocity. You can't expect people to pay for things that hasn't shown up, for them. If they've paid you money and you haven't delivered, especially when they've just paid you a deposit, they are not going to pay the last invoice up until they've actually made sure that whatever you've created for them or whatever you've delivered for them actually works. So you want to maintain your professional relationship with your client, and that means holding up your end of the deal. Come what may, holidays, Valentine's, birthdays, or whatever it is, you just want to show up for your customers and make sure that they can rely on you. Even if they know you had to do it in ways that were not realistically possible, all they want is that their service is delivered, or that what they paid for is delivered. Okay. So if you listen back to this podcast and you use these tips, you definitely avoid missing deadlines. And as a coach or consultant, you'd be sure to plan out your work, and you'd have a schedule that you can actually set realistic expectations with your clients, because when they can trust you, then they can refer work with you. And if you do agree on a deadline, you definitely have to hit it, because excuses only sound best to the man or woman that's going to be telling them. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au